Have you ever had an argument with your parents to determine who is right and who is wrong? Have you ever considered yourself to be wiser than your parents, maybe because they never seem to understand you? Or maybe a quarrel with your younger sibling just so you can demonstrate your superiority over them. This debate, my presentation, will be settled today. Who is really more capable of adjusting to a given problem? Our parents, millennials, us as teenagers, Generation Z, and our annoying little siblings, Generation Alpha. Hi, my name is Michael, and I'll do a presentation. My research question will be, which generation of people which generation of people in the US, millennials, Generation Z, Generation Alpha, would be capable of producing a solution to a given problem given their availability and potency of information? My argument will be, if millennials are more capable of adapting to solving a given problem, then they are more capable than Generation Z and Generation Alpha. Firstly, I have to give an introduction will be necessary to gain a better understanding of each of these three generations. Generation Y, or the more common name, millennials, tend to be more significantly more confident than their descendants. Reason being, they evolved alongside digital technology. Therefore, they constantly adapted to new situations, given constant evolution of digital technology, and have accumulated a vast amount of knowledge in association technology. However, Gen Z was born within a period of time where digital and social technology was almost and is at its peak. Therefore, they've been given all necessary gadgets to instantly develop a high proficiency in the utilization of technology to benefit their interests. This produced an increased growth of competition amongst themselves and by far the most competitive. Lastly, we have Generation Alpha, which consists of entirely children. These children grew up in an era with the best media literacy. They'll be able to deduce fact from fiction, being capable of making the best decisions to a given problem. Millennials here will be from 1980 to 1994, Generation Z will be from 1995 to 2009, and Generation Alpha will be from 2010 to 2024. Secondly, a scaling system was derived to accurately determine the capabilities of these three generations. Two components which are being assessed: versatility and availability, then scale from 1 to 10. The best example of scaling of 10 comes from a TED Talk, How to Build a Resilient Future from Using Futurism. A group of people known as the Kais people reside within the plains of Bangladesh, northern India. According to Julia Watson, an architect, these people live in a rainforest that receives frequent rainfall. During monsoon season, floods occur and travel between villages is cut off. The solution they developed is remarkable. They created living root bridges by guiding and growing tree roots over the course of many generations that eventually grew to the other side of the bank. That will be the basis for the highest scaling, while the worst will be our neglecting or refusing to acknowledge the problem altogether. With this in mind, we should be able to develop a more concise understanding throughout the presentation. Millennials. In comparison to other generations, millennials tend to be more proactive in correlation to reactions under stress. As stated by Florida Conserve for Management Dynamics, in the knowledge economy, most of the people who are currently employed are millennials. The millennials are very common in conjunction with employment rates, though they are efficient and they are not as candidates deeming technology indispensable and capable of working in teams. Implications suggest that they need a balance between their personal and professional life, become motivated to partake in various social networks. Overall acceptance of new persons coming from different cultures tend to challenge the status quo. Though millennials are quite efficient at their respective jobs, they require some specifications to accommodate themselves to maximize efficiency. Millennials take one-third of the US population and will make as much as 70% of the workforce by 2025. Almost 90% of products, would purchase products from a company that supports solutions to their social interests, as stated over here. And in conjunction with social issues, nearly 65% would prefer employers that take action on social or ethical causes that they care about, as stated over here. Generation Z. Like the millennials, they deem digital technology indispensable, solely relying on every aspect of the web to determine which information that dictates their lives. This generation has an aptitude to be more competitive and not as leaning towards collaboration in comparison to millennials. While this is a disadvantage, the generation has an aptitude for being efficient with utilizing the web. According to a study conducted with Dan Trouble, Gen Z tend to be more entrepreneurial, trustworthy, tolerant, and less motivated by money than Generation Y or millennials. They are more realistic about their work expectations and optimistic about the future. A single individual from Gen Z, through their preferences and develop solitude, are quite capable of communication digitally and are well versed in the utilization of technological resources. To come to different deductions, still competition will hinder them from collaborating productively more, or so they would be tolerating one another. And lastly, we have Generation Alpha. Out of all the generations, this generation initially appears counterproductive, considering they consist of children who are spoiled. However, they reside within an era where they are far more capable of producing authoritative practical solutions concerning the resources they are provided. According to marketing and consumer behavior, Gen Alpha is influenced by their parents and millennials. While these children are still young, many decisions directly correlate to the millennials. This generation are literally raised off digital utilization and are filtered so much because much of the data given to the Generation Alpha will be devoid of earnest research and will make them less susceptible to faulty theories and use and methodologies. Conclusion. While Gen Z and Gen Alpha are unparalleled in their respective capabilities, they haven't gotten any real non-digitalized experiences that assert them as being genuinely more versatile than the millennials. Gen Alpha is also influenced by the millennials, so they aren't as independent as one might assume. Now, if I have to scale them, Generation Z, though they are very capable, they will have to, their versatility would have to be at 7 due to the fact that they aren't as adept to physical utilization and versatility. But their availability is very excellent because they have grown within the technological industry. Millennials, however, they are very versatile since they grew as technology has evolved. And their availability, though, is not as great as Generation Z, but they are still capable of accessing information according to their time period. Gen Alpha, though, their versatility is not that great, considering that they are children, but still, their availability is quite high, and the amount of information that they have access to, and the amount of non-erroneous information they have access to, would prove them to be quite efficient at making the decisive decisions. Thank you. This is my work cited.
I have 2 questions for you. First question, what evidence did you gather, back up one step. What evidence did you gather that you didn't use, and why didn't you use it?
There was information that I was planning to actually incorporate another generation, the baby boomers, but at the same time that would be way too many generations to have formulated a decisive decision as whether or not one generation would be better than the other. And with that in mind, the amount of research I would have to do would take way too long, probably longer than I would really have the time. So.
Okay. And what advice would you have for other researchers that consider this topic in the future?
First and foremost, they have to devise a scaling system so that they can determine whether or not a generation will be better or not in certain circumstances and certain capabilities. Because if not, then they're just going to be blind firing.
You're done, my friend.